My name is Oluwale Godwin. Welcome to Emoji Economics. This is lesson 4 on GDP. The topic for today is GDP deflator versus the consumer price index, which is known as the CPI. The GDP deflator measures the average price of output, since GDP itself measures the value of final output produced. On the other hand, the CPI measures the average price of consumption and gives an indication of the cost of living of citizens of a country. Are the two measures not the same? They are not the same for the following reasons. 1. Some of the output produced are not sold to consumers, but to firms, e.g., an industrial baking machine. In other words, consumers or households do not consume industrial baking machine, and therefore it is not included in the formulation of the CPI. Number 2. Some of the output produced are sold to foreign consumers in form of exports. CPI does not capture them because it is concerned about domestic consumption. 3. Some of the goods consumed by domestic or local consumers are not produced in their own countries, that is, imports. Imports are not included in GDP deflator simply because the GDP deflator is concerned with the output produced in a given country, whereas imports will be included in the calculation of the CPI as long as it counts as one of the products or some of the products or commodities in general that households consume. 4. CPI is computed monthly, but the GDP deflator is computed quarterly. Quarterly simply meaning 1/4 of a year. And when we look at it, 1/4 of a year simply means 3 months because there are 12 months in a given year. So the first quarter from January to March and so on and so forth. Calculating the CPI is analogous to how we calculate the GDP deflator. All that changes is the consumer basket of goods in real and nominal terms. A basket of goods that households consume is chosen and could include several goods, such as cereal, milk, housing costs, toys, recreational expenses, energy costs, etc. that are consumed by households. How is the CPI calculated? The formula for calculating the CPI is simply the nominal or the current value of consumer basket of goods in a given year divided by the real value of consumer basket of goods in that year multiplied by 100/1. In the example of shirts in lesson 1, if all shirts produced in the 3 years are consumed locally in those 3 years, as long as there is no other commodity that is produced or consumed in that country, the CPI and the GDP deflator would be the same as much as the inflation rates as well as the inflation rates. What I mean is that in as much as the commodities produced are also the commodities consumed, with no other products being produced or consumed by the producers and households, the CPI, the GDP deflator, as well as the inflation rates would be the same. But for reasons why they differ, which have been explained in the lesson before this time, that is the 3 reasons I gave before I mentioned that CPI is computed monthly, but the GDP deflator is computed quarterly. For these reasons, the CPI and the GDP deflator are usually not equal, but not far apart. In fact, some studies have realized that the difference may not be more than 1%. How was the class? Hope you enjoyed it. Any questions? In the next class, we shall discuss why the CPI may not be a good measure of inflation. Thank you for your time. See you there.